recording enough. Oh, Mataji came.
And it's so wonderful that we can all take this time to be together. There's nothing more important than association of people that are like-minded and wanting to grow in spiritual life. So I am so very grateful. I'm also most grateful to my beloved Prema Kisori. She's dear to my heart. She's dear to so many people's hearts. And she is someone that inspires me. She uplifts me. She also encourages me. And so this is one of those encouragement that she's given to me, is to be able to share a little of what I've received over the years of practicing Krishna consciousness. So I thank you all very much. I'll share just pranams, and then we'll start. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine. Nirvishesha Sunyavari Pasetya Deshatarine. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine. Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Shitatmane. Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Bhaktivedanta Iti Namine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi, Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha, Haribo. So we today are sharing a theme of coming from the head to the heart. And so I thought that one way that we can approach coming from the head to the heart is hearing from Krishna. And what does Krishna say about coming from the head to the heart? So one of the practices that I do every day is to introspect on what I want my day to be like and what was my previous day. What were some of the things that perhaps I want to do differently today, that maybe when I did them yesterday, I wasn't happy with myself. And so today I introspect on how I would like this day to be. And then I set an intention for my day. And so my intention in sharing with you about the head to the heart today is because I personally love to study the Bhagavad Gita. And there's some verses in the Bhagavad Gita that just like walk right into my heart. And so one of those verses is from Bhagavad Gita 10:34. And that verse, it says, and I have my Bhagavad Gita right here, so I'm just going to read it for you. It explains about feminine qualities. And so this is, like I said, one of these verses that just walked into my heart for me to introspect about and learn more about this verse. So this verse says, Mitru sarva harashchaham ubhavashcha bhavishyatam. I'm sorry, that's not the verse. Yeah, it is. Okay. It is this verse. Okay. Kirti Shri Vakshanarinam Smriti Medha Tritis Shama. That verse explains, I am all devouring death, and I am the generating principle of all that is yet to be. Among women, I am fame, fortune, fine speech, memory, intelligence, steadfastness, and patience. So Krishna explains this to Arjuna. And so what caught my attention in that verse, of course, is about Krishna saying, among women, I am fame and beauty and fine speech and, just all these different beautiful, wonderful feminine qualities that Krishna says, among women, I am those qualities. And so when I introspected on this verse, I thought about death. Krishna talked about death in this verse. And I had the most beautiful experience in many ways, sad, brought up many different types of emotions. When I experienced the death of my spiritual master, my spiritual teacher, my spiritual mentor, I had served my spiritual teacher for, since 1979, and he left this planet in 2005. And so I had that experience of death, and I understood there is beauty in knowing that we never die. There is beauty in knowing that a soul will go back to the Supreme Lord based on what they've done in this life. And there's beauty in serving someone and really watching them leave this world. There's great beauty. At the same time, there is deep separation. So I understood this, and I understand it in because I had a practical experience of it. And I also understand, this is a theoretical understanding, where Krishna says, I am the generating principle of all that is yet to be. So I thought, oh, okay, I need to introspect on that, right? And of course, Prabhupada, he gives us so many different understanding about this generating principle when we read the Srimad Bhagavatam, especially the first and second cantos of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And then this one, among women, I'm fame. And, and I thought, okay, Krishna, I want to introspect on these qualities. And I really want to look at which one of these qualities that I personally need to work on. Which one of these qualities as a woman that I don't exemplify so much. And so in that introspection, this is what has come, what I'm sharing with you today about moving from the head to the heart. So first of all, the opulences that Krishna is speaking about in this entire chapter, he's sharing how he manifests for people in the world, or he is represented in different ways for people in the world that may not fully understand that Krishna is a person and that Krishna is the cause of all causes and all that is. Many people may not get that. They may not understand that. So then in this 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, he tells us how I am represented. How is Krishna represented in the world, in the universe? And so the opulence, in this particular verse that we're reading about women, this opulence of Krishna is considered feminine. It's a feminine opulence. And so the feminine principle represents, as Krishna says here, it represents fame, the feminine principle, represents fortune, represents fine speech, represents intelligence, and it represents steadfastness and patience. These are all qualities that are feminine by nature. And these qualities represent one who has wisdom. And so when we think about how we approach Krishna, when we are approaching the Lord, for those of you that may do some deity service, or you know something about the deities, you know that we approach Krishna through Radha. And so Radha is the feminine principle of the Lord. And so even Krishna himself has set it up in such a way that we can understand him through his feminine principle, through Srimati Radharani. And when we approach this feminine principle, we always say, like, now we're going to be very soon getting to engage in this beautiful, beautiful month of Kartik, starting, I believe, in a couple of weeks. And so we're anxious. We want to be able to enter into the pastimes of Radha and Damodar. Yes, Radha and Damodar. So again, this feminine principle, we can experience Damodar through Srimati Radharani. And we can experience Damodar through Mother Yashoda. So these are all the feminine principles that is manifest for us to understand how we can, as in these bodies that we have, although we know that these physical bodies are very temporary, at the same time, there's a principle behind being in a feminine body, being in a woman's body. And so one last point about this is that Krishna, he is the original Purusha, right? Krishna is the original male, and actually everyone else is female. So technically, everyone in the world is supposed to be exemplifying these qualities. However, Krishna says, I am representing women with these qualities. So even though everyone is supposed to manifest these qualities, it is the feminine principle that really makes a difference on the planet if we're connected with it, right? If we're connected, that's the big one. Because most of the time, at least in my experience of a woman that, thinks she's intelligent and thinks she's, whatever the false ego might tell me, I become disconnected from these very feminine principles, right? Especially in the modern world that we're living in. I mean, fortunately, by my spiritual master, my spiritual teacher, my spiritual mentor, Srila Prabhupada, and his representative, I have been, practicing Krishna consciousness for some years, 41 years. So I have a little bit, maybe little purification, have been through some purification where I can, understand a little bit more about the feminine principle. However, there's still some areas that definitely I need to improve on, no doubt. And so if we can remember that Krishna is the original male, he's the only enjoyer, and everyone else is to be enjoyed by the Lord. And if we are connected with this feminine principle, with these feminine principles, we will have that knowledge, we will have that wisdom, and we will act accordingly with that wisdom. Now, for me, as I was sharing with you, introspection is very important to me. And again, when we look at this feminine principle, and we think about when we chant, for those of you that might be chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, again, when we say Hare Krishna, when we say Hare, then we're calling on Srimati Radharani. And I'm sure what I'm sharing with you, most of you already know this. What happens is I talk a lot, I speak a lot to persons that don't know anything about Krishna consciousness. And so I may be speaking in a very basic way because that's kind of how I connect with people, is I just, know that many people don't really know Krishna. And what is the simplest way that I can connect with their hearts to understand a little bit about Krishna? And so Hare is the feminine energy, is the feminine aspect of Krishna. And when we chant the mantra, that's the first thing we say, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And if you've ever been to a japa retreat, all of the teachers in the japa retreats, they always kind of inspire us to put emphasis on that Hare. When you chant the Hare Krishna mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. So there's a lot of emphasis on this feminine energy. Also, the feminine energy requires humility, deep humility. And so this is now what I would like to do is take us into this beautiful journey of two women, a son and a husband. And we will look at how these two women exemplified any of these qualities, right? These qualities that Krishna says that we all have. And I will share with you why this is important to me, why exploring the story of these two ladies, these two very beautiful, wonderful women. So the story is about this husband who happens to be a king, and he has two wives. At the time at the time when the kings were in power, they could have more than one wife. They even had maidservants. And actually, I had that experience. I was teaching in a foreign country. I won't say the name. And I was teaching conflict, because that's actually my field, is conflict transformation, conflict resolution. And so I was in this country, and I wasn't there as a devotee. I was there as a civilian, as a secular person. And I was teaching conflict resolution, mediation. And one of the cities that I went to in this country, the men could have 7 wives, not just 1 or 2. And that's on the planet right now. So that's right now. And I actually was really curious to see how that worked. So so in teaching, I was teaching groups of people, and I developed relationships with them. And then one of the ladies invited me to come to visit her home. She was one of, I think, 5 wives or something like that. And it was quite interesting because, yeah, they all had their little house, and they all had their children, and all their children played together. And it was all like everybody was interconnected with each other. And I always wondered, how does a husband financially take care of all of them? However, they all had different crafts that they did, and they assisted with, and it was fine. It seemed fine. It seemed like everybody was happy. So that's, in my experience, that's not long ago. So the times of the kings, this is where it comes from. If anybody wants to know, the kings would do this. They would, it was allowed. Now, men, I think, still do this. However, it's not so much accepted, at least in the West. So I believe they hide, and they do kind of like the same thing. But in any case, the women, these 2 women, they lived in a palace. One was the stepmother of this young boy, Dhruva, and the other one was the mother. And so the stepmother, her name is Suruchi, and the boy is Dhruva. We know him as Dhruva Maharaj. The father, his name was Uttanapada, and the mother of Dhruva was Suniti. And so what happened is Suruchi one day was with her husband, Uttanapada, and Suruchi's little son, his name was Uttama, he went to sit on the lap of his father. And so naturally, this little 5-year-old boy, he saw this. And so everyone in the world is looking for affection and attention, right? Everybody, doesn't matter who we are, whether we're 5 years old or we're 80 years old. We want affection, we want attention, we want appreciation. And so Dhruva, he went to sit on his father's lap. And the father, because he was very attached to his wife, the stepmother, he kind of, froze. And he let the stepmother take care of everything. And so the stepmother became very, very disturbed that Dhruva was going to sit on this father's lap. And so she spoke to him in very harsh words, with very, very harsh words. And so I want to share with you some of what Suruchi shared to Dhruva. So she tells Dhruva, she says, you do not deserve to sit on the throne on the lap of your father. So this is a stepmom telling her this 5-year-old boy. She goes on and she says, even though he's your father, you are not aware that you did not take birth in my womb. You took birth from another woman. And then she says, you're not qualified to sit on your father. You're just not qualified. You don't have the qualification because you didn't take birth from my womb. You are doomed for failure. And then she gives him the last really piercing words in his heart. And he says, she said to him, and you are trying to fulfill a desire which is impossible to fulfill. It's just not going to happen. But then, so she tells him these very harsh words, speaking to him very harshly. And so in conflict transformation, one of the things that I teach is that words are like windows or they're like walls. And so we can either open a window for someone with our words, or we can build a wall and separate ourselves from them, right? So this is what she was doing, Suruchi. She's building a wall with Dhruva. And she's speaking these words, you know? So this pastime, as I said, it means a lot to me because I'm always introspecting, and I'm always introspecting on qualities and values. And so I look at this Suruchi and I think, ooh, Krishna, how much of that is in me? Krishna, you know I have some Suruchi inside of me. So please, I need your help, right? So this is one of my introspection. And so what I want you to introspect on is how do you speak when your desires and longings are not fulfilled? How do you speak? I also want you to reflect on, how do you speak when you think someone want to take what you have? How do you speak? And so I have to question myself with this all the time because, I'm not perfect. I'm growing in Krishna consciousness. So this is something that we can take some time and reflect on it, because Suruchi was speaking in the mode of passion. She was also a little bit covered with the mode of ignorance. At the same time, though, Suruchi, the same person that's speaking so harshly out of perhaps envy, maybe jealousy, maybe she has a need, maybe she herself has this need for affection and attention and just want it just for herself. In any case, she tells him this final words. She says, if you want to sit on the lap of your father, then you need to go and take shelter of Narayan, take shelter of Krishna. And maybe in your next life, maybe you can take birth and sit on your father's lap. Maybe in your next life, right? So even though she was harsh and rude and not so nice, she understood. Only Krishna can give you this benediction. Only Krishna can fulfill the desire. So how many times, even in our own process of growing in Krishna consciousness, sometimes we can speak the sastras so nicely. We can speak the Bhagavad Gita. We can quote verses. We can talk so much philosophy. But then when we get really tested, with how to connect with another person, we may fall short of one of these qualities. And so this is why we're having this conversation today, to check with ourselves, mainly to see where do we fall short and how can we learn from these personalities. So now we're going to learn from Suniti and how she handled the situation. Suniti is the mother. So you saw what happened. The father froze. Father couldn't, he couldn't talk. He just froze because he's attached to his wife. And she knows it. And she takes the liberty to speak the way that she did to Dhruva. So now Dhruva, he gets emotional because that's what happens when we hear things, right, that disturbs us. We get emotional because we're human beings and we have emotions, right? We have so many different types of emotions that comes. And we can feel those emotions, actually. We feel them in certain parts of our bodies. If we're connected to our body, we will feel an emotion in the stomach or in the chest or sometimes in the heart or, when we feel it in a certain part of our body, it can help us to understand what emotion we're feeling. Sometimes we feel these emotions all over our bodies. And so Dhruva, he runs to his mother, right? He's crying, he's angry, he's disturbed. And he runs to his mother and he's like grieving. He's like, it's like Prabhupada explained, piteously. He's like so angry and sad and hurt and annoyed and every emotion you can think about. And then he goes to his mother. And by the time he gets to his mother, there's all the residents in the palace that's already telling his mother what happened before Dhruva could have even got there. There were others, because there are no secrets. I don't know if you know that, but really, there are no secrets. There's always somebody, always somebody that's going to, share exactly the thing that you don't want to share, and then makes us very vulnerable. So he goes, so all these residents have she has her maidservants, people she loves, that have come to tell her, this is what they did. This is what Sharuchi did to your son. So by the time Dhruva got to her and Dhruva started telling her what happened, she was also feeling disturbances in her body. And it's explained by Srila Prabhupada that she didn't know how to deal with these emotions. She just didn't understand. However, what happened is Suniti, she lifted her son onto her lap. And even though Suniti was known for her patience, she definitely reacted to the co-wife by just feeling the emotions in her body. Now, she didn't react in her speaking. She only felt these disturbances in her body. So she thought she couldn't find a remedy for the pain that she was experiencing in her body. So she just kind of disregarded whatever that was happening. And then she decided to speak to her son. And she says, my dear son, tells him, don't wish for anything inauspicious for others. Anyone who inflicts pain upon others, that person, they're suffering from that pain. This is the wisdom of this woman, right? We cannot, sometimes I could, when I read the story, I'm like, am I ever going to be on that level? Krishna, help me, help me, where I could say, wow, you hurt my son, but you know what? However, she's feeling pain. Don't take it personally. This is basically what she was saying. And don't wish pain for her. Don't get disturbed, right? She says to him, she continues and she says, whatever has been spoken by Suruchi, whatever she told you, is the way it is. She's told you the truth. The fact is, your father, King Uttanapada, he really doesn't consider me as his wife. Doesn't even consider me one of his maidservants. She says, actually, Dhruva, he's ashamed of me. And so then she goes on to tell him, therefore, it's a fact that you have taken birth from the womb of an unfortunate woman. And you have grown up being fed from my breast. So whatever your stepmother said to you, although it was harsh, it was factual, it's a fact. She didn't blame her co-wife, which is really interesting, because normally the way we respond to messages, usually, is we either blame ourselves or we blame the other person. That's usually what we do. If we don't have this understanding of this quality of fine speech, right? This feminine, beautiful quality, we will blame the other person, usually. Usually we blame the other person. Or sometimes, I know in my case, I first blame myself. Oh, what did I do? I did something wrong. Oh, I hurt that person's feelings. Oh, I'm so bad. Oh. Or really, some people just go like, that person is just something wrong with them. Yeah, what's their problem? So she didn't do that. She actually appreciated the stepmother. She appreciated her co-wife. And then she tells her son, she says, if you really desire to sit on the throne as your step-brother, Uttama did, then you, Dhruva, you have to give up this envious attitude. Now, just imagine, she's like chastising her son for what his stepmother did, what his stepmother did to her. She's telling her child, you need to not be envious, right? So this is this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful quality of patience. She was so patient in how she was dealing with this situation, this scenario. And she was keeping her balance by knowing internally she was feeling definitely some different emotions. But in her speaking, she was speaking in a way to nourish Dhruva, to nourish Dhruva's soul, to nourish his intelligence, to nourish his emotions. She wasn't saying, yeah, how could she do that? How could she say that? What is her problem? No, she wasn't doing that. And then she says, if you desire, then you need to go do what your stepmother told you to do. That's what you need to do. You need to go to the Supreme Lord. You need to go to Narayan. You need to go to Krishna. That's what you need to do. She gave you good instruction. Go to Krishna. This is the quality of faithfulness. She was so faithful, such a faithful woman. She understood that Krishna can take away all the burden of this emotion of anger, right? So this again is wisdom, the wisdom of the feminine quality. And so Suniti shared with Dhruva about the greatness of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is her humility. She shared with him how wonderful Krishna is, how beautiful Krishna is. And she even gave him, some understanding about how she knows this. How does she know? And she says that, Dhruva, simply by worshiping the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, Dhruva, your great-grandfather, Lord Brahma, he got all the necessary qualifications to create this universe. And then she says, and you know what, Dhruva? Your grandfather, Swayambhuva Manu, he executed great sacrifices by distribution of charity and with unflinching faith and devotion. He worshiped and sacrificed for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, how many of us, maybe due to, we're working, our lives is hectic, we have a little bit of this masculine tendency to control, to kind of, get things done. We just, gotta, be the one that's making sure everything is right. We're project oriented. How many of us, when we look at that, when we get introspective with ourselves, are able to think and say, my mother taught me, or my father taught me how to worship the deities. My mother or my father taught me about beautiful qualities. Or how many of us could say, my grandmother, she gave me shelter and taught me about Krishna. Now, I might choose to forget that. However, if we get introspective with ourselves, somebody maybe in our family or maybe in our family's family somehow had this understanding. Go to God, go to Krishna. I can't do this. There's nothing I can do, right? So this was Suniti. Suniti, she had this wisdom. She had this understanding. And so she says, my dear son, please take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because he's very kind to the devotees. And she says, Dhruva, I cannot find anyone else that can take away your distress. There's nobody else that can do that. Now, oftentimes we look, something happens, something goes wrong. We hear the message, we blame somebody, then we go to somebody else and we tell them, this is what happened, so that other person can blame somebody too. Usually that's how, in the modern world, that's how people deal with stuff. So there are many, many, many women in our scriptures that are like Suniti, that exemplify these beautiful feminine qualities that Krishna speaks about in the Bhagavad Gita. And basically, Suniti, she gave Dhruva sage advice. She gave him sage advice. Wasn't done so nicely. However, she did. Go to the Lord. And Suniti, his mother, gave him sage advice with love, with kindness, with generosity, with compassion. So there, ladies, this is my question for all of us in developing these qualities. Fame, we have I wanted to ask all of you just to see, maybe you can either write in the chat or you can maybe just share.
They can raise hand and I can give them the chances. So.
Yes. First, I'd like to ask you, tell me some of the ladies that you know, some of the Vaishnavis, some of the women that are practicing, that you know in the scriptures, that are examples for you, that exemplify these feminine qualities. So I'd like you to either share in the chat or raise your hand and share at least one woman that you know from the scriptures.
Yes. Anuradha Mataji, you can unmute yourself. So from the scriptures.
From the scriptures.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes.
Sita Mata, I feel because she had lot of patience, even though she was asked to go out from the palace, but she never spoke against Lord Ram, and she chose to walk away silently, which I feel is very much inspiring, because I don't think in this modern world anybody will be like her. But I feel that she had those wonderful qualities which we can also imbibe. That is, we can learn the art of patience, having patience and not blaming anybody for our karma, good karma or bad karma.
Okay. Thank you, Mataji. Mukundan Mataji. Yes, Mataji. What would you like to share?
Hello.
Yes.
I would like to talk about Goda Devi, Andal. She's called as Andal. She had the terrific devotion to Lord Krishna. She actually, as a child, her father told that the Lord is her husband. So she devoted her full life and she dedicated her life to Krishna. And it so happened that father, Anda's father or Goda's father, used to make garlands and take it to the Lord. So, but what happened one day, as she was a child of about 6 to 8 years or so, she tried it on herself. And then her father got so angry. He said, "How can you do this? It's for the Lord." So then he made another garland and took it to the Lord. When he went there, the Lord is asking, "Why didn't you get that garland for me? I want that garland." From that day onwards, the garland which Andal wears, only that is given to the Lord. So it's a beautiful thing, beautiful devotion. And Lord asked her to come to Srirangam in Tamil Nadu, and he got married to her.
Beautiful. Thank you for
Mataji.
sharing that pastime. I have not heard that before.
Yes. Mataji, some devotees are writing in the chat, Mirabai, and then Yashoda Mother, Urmila Devi, Lakshmana's wife, Anasuya, Mother Earth, Mother Sati, Mother Draupadi, Kunti Devi, Sita Devi, Prema Mataji. That's not in the scriptures. Thank you, Madam. Okay. Taringonda Vengam Amba. Okay, I don't know about that. Okay. Anyone else? Or Anvaya Mataji? Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hi, Krishna.
Yeah, it is Janabai who was working in the house of the Saint Namdev. And she showed extreme patience in the sense she was very close to Vitthal. And one day it so happened that Vitthal used to come to her house every day to help her with the household chores. And it so happened that one day was working and she called Vitthal for help. And he came, and it was quite a while till the work got over. So he slept over there in her house. And the next morning, she realized that Vitthal has gone back to the mandir. And the next day in the morning for Kakad Arti, which they call in Marathi, the Mangal Arti in the morning, when they opened, they saw all his ornaments were missing, and they saw the blanket which was in Janabai's house, like it was her blanket. So after they found out that the blanket was Janabai's, they said, "Oh, you have stolen everything, the ornaments," and she couldn't yet convince them. No, that Vitthal had come here. But for the Lord, she decided to keep quiet. She did not speak anything. So just imagine now, the Panchayat has said that tomorrow you are going to be hanged. And on the banks of the river, they had put a spear and they were going to give her a death sentence. And at that time, the spear melted and Vitthal saved her life. So patience, even when her life was, she was about to leave the mortal world, the faith in Vitthal was so much, and she did not want to speak anything against the people, or she didn't want to prove her bhakti on Vitthal. So this, this is also patience when you know that your life is at stake.
Yes. So much patience and so much fortune and fame, because here you are thousands of years later sharing about her.
Thank you, Mataji. One more Mataji wants to share. Mataji, please be brief so we can hear more from Vrajalila Mataji. It's very hard to get her. I had to sit with her for half an hour to go through her schedule book. Yes, Mataji, Vajanti Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. When Rama and Lakshmana were in exile, they were taking shelter at Shabari Mata. Then Shabari Mata was eating every fruit and she was tasting every fruit. And if it is sweet, she was giving food to Lord Rama.
Yes.
Yes, I know. This is bhakti.
Yes. Thank you so very much. Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna Mataji.
Okay, yes, Mataji, some more names came up. Devaki, Kaushalya, all the demons, ladies. I know only one, Putana. That Krishna was so nice that he gave her the position of Mother Yashoda, and Kaushalya. That's it. Okay, Mataji.
Thank you so very much for sharing. I'm very excited when I hear about ladies, when I hear that ladies are, they know these other ladies from our scriptures. And so many ladies from so many different aspects of our scriptures. For example, in South India, there are many ladies that are known according to the South Indian tradition, or like North India, different ladies are known. And it's just so beautiful when we can connect with their stories and understand how their stories are to help us to exemplify these qualities in our own lives. It's so, so beautiful. And thank you very, very much for sharing. There's one woman that I don't hear. I always, whenever I ask this to anyone about women in our scripture, there's one that I don't hear so much that the devotees talk about, or anyone talk about so much. Her name was Pingala. Anyone knows Pingala?
Yes. I
So
speak
you
about
want-
her, yes.
Okay, so tell us about Pingala, Prema Kisori.
You want me to tell Mataji? This is your class. I just know she's in 11th canto Srimad Bhagavatam. She's a prostitute, and how she introspects when night she's standing waiting for her customers outside her house, very nicely dressed up and makeup and all jewelry, and looking at every man who's passing by, that this is the person who will give me the riches today, and when I'll get it, then I will enjoy. I have and my bank balance will increase. So every man who was passing by her house, she was looking at him with this kind of a mentality. But the whole night passed and she was still standing. No one came, and the night broke and to the dawn. So maybe Mataji, you can tell from there. And she sits
No,
down.
you can continue. You're sharing it so beautifully. Please continue.
Okay, Mataji, by your order. So, so she goes inside and she sits down on her bed, and then she introspects. What am I doing? I'm looking at all these men for fulfilling my needs of acquiring money, and no one is looking at me. Why am I neglecting the Lord in my heart, who has been looking after me, and I am neglecting him? The relationship has to be reversed. What am I doing? So she really introspects, and then from that day onwards, she gives up her profession and takes up the Krishna consciousness. But Mataji, you can fill the gap. It's been a while I read 11th canto.
I think you did an excellent narration of this beautiful story, because we wanted the essence of the story. The essence of this story is that oftentimes we judge others, right? We judge others based on what they do or how they may look or how they may, whatever their profession may be. And we don't really understand, or we don't take the time to really look deeper at the essence of women that may do things that we don't understand, right? immediately we may try to judge them. And so one of the services that I try to offer in our communities is for women to become empowered to support each other. Like Prema Kisori, how she's so kindly offered herself, even amidst the fact that she's working and she has 2 children that she has to take care of. And I know how difficult it can be, especially, you know, in America. It's not so easy to have a job and to have 2 children and to be single. I know in certain parts of India, she would be very judged. I can say that because I've lived in India for 15 years. So I understand the culture. And so the culture needs to be changed in some ways. We need to become more loving, more caring, more compassionate, more supportive of each other as women in these bodies, because these bodies are given to us so that we can change the world. That's what we can do. We can make a shift in the world if we exemplify these beautiful, beautiful qualities that Krishna says. Krishna says, I am represented in all of you through these qualities. However, because of Kali Yuga, because of our, you know, just breakdown in our relationships, breakdown in families, because of the toxicity, the toxic nature of the world today, we don't consider these qualities. We don't consider, you know, what our values are, how we want to live, how we want to exemplify in the world. You know, what can actually help others to change. And so, as we said, these qualities are for everyone. They're everyone, men and women. However, the gender in our world tends to reflect different ways that may not be supportive of caring, of showing how to live these basic principles, these basic qualities. So I want to challenge all of you. To look internally and see which one of these qualities maybe you might need to work on to become more of an effective change agent on our planet. This is a time for change to happen in our planet in terms of bringing character, integrity, auspiciousness. And in these bodies, we have the ability to do that. So we can do that just by exemplifying these qualities, because they're Krishna. And so they have power. So which one of these qualities, I want to ask you, do you think that you would like to improve on in order to make a difference in the world? And I'd like you to be vulnerable and share that amongst each other as women.
Can I take a lead?
Yes.
Patience. It's very easy for me to get overwhelmed for many different reasons that you know, and I lose the patience. So I think patience is my meditation. But thank you. Okay, Mataji, you can raise your hand and I will allow you to speak to. And my co-hosts, poor girls, can't raise their hand, so you can unmute yourself. Who would like to share?
I will also share it with you just so you can be vulnerable. Mine is this one that I developed this whole workshop for, is speaking in ways that are compassionate, that can encourage others, that can help others to understand that they value, you know, something to offer to the world. And in order to do that, I need to have compassionate speaking. So I teach a course called Compassionate Communication, because this is so important. This is a quality that I know. My husband walk in here in a minute and does something that I don't like. I can tell him, I can say something that's a suruchi. I know that. So I'm really working on this saniti quality.
So,
Mataji.
Anju Mohan Mataji. Yes, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji. I would say a little bit control over my first reaction. My first reaction is anger. Although after that, you know, I would be very, very balanced in whatever I think. And I start with gratitude that, yeah, I'm blessed even going through this bad experience. But my first reaction is of anger. Oh my God, how can a person be so mean? How can a person be so horrid? Whatever the reaction to whatever has happened. My first reaction, I wish I could temper it down. Then I think that would help in a big way.
So Mataji, is that of speech too? Because Krishna's 7 qualities are fame, fortune, intelligence, patience, steadfastness, and which are the other 2? Fine speech. Oh my God, I'm forgetting. Fine speech. And memory. Memory.
Steadfastness.
Steadfastness. Okay. Okay. So the diagnosis is steadfastness.
Thank you so much.
Rajan
I'd like to share with the Mataji that just shared. Mataji, one of the ways that when we first experience that emotion of anger, the quickest way that we can address it, just immediately, is to really practice the very, very ancient science of pranayama. Just breathe. Breathe.
Okay. Okay.
Like 3 breaths in the very beginning. As soon as it comes, it's like, here it is. Breathe. Just
Okay.
3 breaths.
Mataji, it's just that, as you just said, the world has become so toxic. So I know that people can be toxic. I know situations can be toxic. But every time I see it, my first reaction is, oh my God, why am I here? I don't want to be a part of it. And, and the anger against the person at that time. But I'm trying. I don't know how much I'll succeed, but I'm trying my very level best to counter this. Steadfastness is there in general. But
thank you, Mataji. So Rajni Rajan Mataji. Yes, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
1 second, Mataji. Mataji is going to say something.
Just something really quickly, because it's important to apply this knowledge. It's very important that we are practical. So I wanted to just assist that Mataji. It's just breathe once you breathe, as soon as you finish breathing, change the dialogue. Say something opposite. Oh, there are people in the world that really need help, and I am a change agent.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why I love you. Okay.
I love you too. I mean, I think this is my key. Thank you.
Thank you. Rajni Rajan Mataji, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you so much, Mataji. I think I had trouble connecting initially, so I lost first few minutes of your session. Probably if there's any recording, I would like to catch up. But here's now the question that you have asked, probably the quality of gratitude and tolerance. I do have extreme sense of gratitude to the life that I have got now today. And I think, the tolerance factor in me, I think I have to develop that a little more, because I know I sometimes feel I have tolerated. I sometimes do feel lost. Like I'm probably asking too many questions to Premekshwari Mataji, too many questions. And I don't know, sometimes when you, try to understand too many things in the Hinduism or their sculptures, I'm probably getting led into different concepts, which is hard for me to understand. For example, I don't know whether it is right or wrong in thinking like that, but I do want to develop more gratitude and more tolerance in myself. I don't know how to explain further, because some questions like how much did I was feeling, because Draupadi, how was she able to satisfy 5 husbands? She's wife of 5. She's a strong devotee of Krishna, and she's got so much. She has to satisfy 5 of them, and she's not one person that she's satisfying. She has to satisfy 5 of them equally, And I was thinking of her, and being such a strong devotee of Krishna, she has to go through so much that she has tolerated. And all the elders like Bhishma and Dronacharya in that court, even though they had the power, they did not act, or they did not speak to protect her. And ultimately her devotion in Krishna has been able to protect herself. During Krishna has come to the rescue of her. She was a strong devotee. So those kind of questions come in my mind. How did they even tolerate? And rightfully, the first example given of Sita, how much did she bear, going into the forest? How much has she tolerated when she was pregnant, Lavakusha giving birth, and Rama, such a pure soul, not even soul, God, Rama herself has, abandoned her, hearing the, one of his citizens and giving importance to the kingdom and being a rule. But he has abandoned his wife, Sita, who's so pure, and she has to again, prove her sanctity when going into that, doing that Agni. She has then embedded herself into Bhuloka, right? Bhudevi is her mother, and she has to prove her sanctity in spite of being so much. And then I was thinking, how did they tolerate? Will I even be able to? Because I don't know how to develop that tolerance further, because I have honestly speaking, I have gone through a lot. I have had a I would say my childhood was not very pleasant, but no, I've overcome that. And I was totally raised in a way that I could forget that past memory. And then when I got married, again different kind of situation. But yeah, I have sustained to this extent, and I'm grateful to God for giving me life, which has probably taught me many things. I have learned lessons in life practically. And I don't know, I probably want to develop more gratitude and more tolerance to face the situations with more compassion, or with more courage, I would say.
So Rajani, really quickly, so beautiful how you understand the sacrifices and austerities of these great ladies. And so I would recommend that this is a suggestion, that you get a little book and you call that book My Mahabharata Diary. And maybe that Mahabharata Diary, in there, you may not be Draupadi, you may not be Sita, because these are very exalted ladies in many ways. However, in our own way, we're making baby steps towards developing some of those qualities. And actually, in the absolute sense, you are as glorious as Sita and also as Draupadi, because you are a dear devotee of Krishna. And in the absolute sense, you are pure. You're a pure soul. However, we understand we're conditioned. So you get your Mahabharata diary to write down some of your conditioning that you are working on, which is tolerance and patience. And every day write a baby step of what you're doing. Because right now you're comparing yourself to these great souls. And, we are in the process of remembering Krishna. Draupadi was in the presence of Krishna. Don't forget that.
Thank you, Mataji.
Yeah. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you.
Harshita Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji. From this beautiful story that you shared with us, the wisdom that I gained was to look at the positive side in any situation. No matter how harsh the situation turns out to be, but if you look at the positive aspect, like choose the positive direction, and that comes only through Krishna consciousness. Because if Suniti ji was not in Krishna consciousness, she couldn't impart the same knowledge to her son and accept the truth and reality of her life. So I would say the more that we are Krishna conscious, we gain more positivity. And no matter what the situation, we can overcome it.
Yes. Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing Harchita. And Harchita, the way that we become Krishna conscious is to every single day have this discipline of calling God's name, right?
Yeah.
That helps us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. Sindhu Mataji. Yes, Mataji.
Yes, Hare Krishna. I am blessed to have connected to you this day. My question is how to become more rational, because I'm a very emotional person and I myself don't like it.
So you are
So how to-
questioning the question, Mataji. You're questioning the question. The question is that what is it that we have to individually work on out of the 7 opulences?
How to work on? Yeah, how to work on by becoming less emotional and be rational in thinking.
So out of fame, fortune, Mother Vrajalila, I need some clarification. I'm sorry. Out of fame, fortune, intelligence, fine speech, memory, steadfastness, which quality is that?
To
Patient.
become, sorry,
Yes,
go ahead. So I am hearing that Mataji is wanting to develop more of
Emotional
being
control.
emotional control, more emotional control. So, so I'm hearing that you would like to develop more intelligence, because we all have emotions. That's a part of having a human body. However, those emotions can be addressed through our intelligence. And so we as women, we have that qualification from Krishna to be intelligent. Now, what does intelligence really mean, though? You know, for some people, it means material intelligence. It means that I'm the best at what I do in the material world. I go to the best school. I'm a doctor. I'm a lawyer. I'm a this. I'm a that. That's what intelligence may mean. However, for a Mataji, a woman that is exemplifying Krishna's quality of intelligence, then that Mataji will be knowledgeable about the scriptures. They will be able to understand from the scriptures how to address their intelligence, because we do have intelligence and we don't want to deny that intelligence. At the same time, we want to know that our intelligence needs to be in balance. And they need to work for us, because usually, I'm sorry, our emotions. Emotions are usually pointing a direction. They're pointing to something we need. And so a spiritual woman, a spiritual person that's exemplifying this quality of intelligence, what we need is knowledge, spiritual knowledge. That's what we need.
I'm fully satisfied.
Okay.
Can
you.
I ask
Thank
a
you.
question, Mataji, there?
Sindhu Mataji, did you get it?
Yes, yes. I got it. Thank you so much.
Okay. Radhika
Yes,
Can I
Mataji.
please ask?
Lakshmi Mataji, please wait till the end. There are so many Matajis waiting. to
Sorry,
speak.
sorry.
I just wanted to
No,
share
this
with
question was related to that emotional control. That is why. Sorry, Mataji.
Okay,
No
1
problem.
minute. Okay, 10 seconds. Okay, portray your
I
question.
wanted to address Sindhu just really quickly. Sindhu, please kindly keep listening to these classes of Prema Kishori. Kindly do that for you. That's your self-care. That's your self.
Boom. Self-care. Self-care Bhagavad Gita
I
classes.
look forward to the class. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah, so the
Yes,
same
Lakshmi
thing I was
Mataji,
saying,
10
ma'am.
seconds.
I was going to tell the same thing. Meditation and chanting, do they help in emotional control as well, isn't it? So meditation and chanting is the way I found controlling my emotions as well. They helped me, come over the emotions which I, go through. That's what I wanted to tell. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Radhika Mataji. Yes, Mataji.
Yes, ma'am. I don't know which category this will fall, but you know what? The first thing which comes in my mind is fear. So I don't exhibit it, but it is there. So how do I get rid of it?
So Mataji, again, for my sake, like fame, fortune, fine speech, intelligence, memory, steadfastness, and I guess and patience. Where does it belong?
I just told you, ma'am. I don't know which
No,
category.
I'm asking Vrajalila Mataji. She's an expert physician in diagnosing our spiritual and material.
I'm trying to keep diagnosing myself, believe it or not, on a daily basis. And when I do these kinds of classes, I learn from all of you. I sincerely do. It helps me so much. So when I think of, fear, because I have fears. One of my fears that I've had for a long time is fear of the dark. And I still have that fear. I don't so much like darkness. It's always interesting to me when I find people that love darkness. You know, darkness means like, I need light. I need a lot of light. Like now we're getting ready to have winter and it gets dark. And I'm like, oh, you know, I always would come to India. Every winter I go to India for 6 months. And I live in India for 6 months. That was my self-care. And my husband is fine. Okay. And sometimes we would go together. Most of the times we go together. Sometimes if he had to work, I would just go. And, you know, that was my self-care. But now I can't come to India. So I have to figure out, Krishna, winter is coming. What's going to happen? Anyway, back to this fear. What I have found is that fear, the opposite of fear is love. And so every situation, if we can apply love. Now, love comes in terms of a quality. When someone is loving, that quality becomes famous. A person becomes really famous. So when we look at some of the women that have impacted our lives in some way by connecting us with love, those women are very famous. You know, our grandmothers are famous. Our mothers, for some people, it's a toxic world now. So sometimes people, when you say the word mother, they're like, ah. You know, I think we still though connect with our grandmothers. So grandmothers, they taught us how to love. And I do believe that love minimizes fear, even get rid of fear. And love, expressing love, sharing love, giving love. Now we say in the material world, there's no love. However, we can express love by accepting other people, by appreciating other people, by just kind of being very generous with ourselves to other people. We can express love like that. Inspiring other people, uplifting other people. This is a way that we become famous in the world. We're looking at the world because we know that spiritually we are already famous because you're a devotee of Krishna. So you're famous. And fear is something that goes away the more we connect to being devotees of Krishna. My fear of the dark, I kind of like, it's gotten so much better, so much better. So one of the ways that I try to start loving the dark is I have kind of minimized the lights, like light at night, at least at night. I have minimized my need for a lot of light at night, and that has helped me. So it's all about love, and love helps us to become famous. So I think perhaps that quality you can exemplify that quality of fame by becoming loving and caring and compassionate and accepting, not judging and not criticizing.
Sure. Thank you. And an extension of this is also guilt. Many times when I feel that, you know, I may not be responsible, because if I am responsible, then I may not do that. But somebody around me is suffering because of somebody else's action, and I am unaware of it, which I get to know later, right? That guilt keeps killing me because I have not observed that. Had I noticed it and had I intimated, maybe it could have saved a life, maybe it could have helped that person. The guilt doesn't go off. It comes for everyone, but it stays for a while and goes off. But for me, it stays forever. So how do I get out of that?
Guilt is an emotion that can take us to depression. So we want to be very conscious of guilt and how it impacts our, you know, just how we interact with other people. So guilt is an emotion that we kind of, we want to check it, right? We want to check it, and we want to understand, what is it pointing to? When I'm feeling guilty about something, exactly what is it? And can I do anything about it? Can I do anything about it? So what I would say about guilt is to increase memory. Yeah.
Sure.
And memory comes again from studying, you know, our scriptures. When we study our scriptures, we tend to become more intelligent. And when we become more intelligent, we start addressing some of those emotions that are not nourishing us, that are not working for us. And so guilt is definitely one that, guilt in one sense, because we're not being the best that we can be for the Lord. That's a nice way of expressing guilt. However, guilt in terms of my material conditioning, the things I want that I'm not getting, the way I want people to behave, my perceptions of how I think things are supposed to be, that kind of guilt can be a ruination, actually. It can be distracting, very distractful for us. So yes, we want to increase our loving memory, our memory of who we are. Who am I at the end of the day? Who's the controller? Who's controlling all of this?
Sure. Your answer on guilt is really very good. Thank you so much.
Mataji.
Thank you, Radhika. Thank you
Annu
so much.
Mataji and then Sita Mataji. They have been waiting for a long time. They can't raise their hands. Yes, Annu Mataji.
Mataji, my question is how to improve my patience. I'm a teacher, and when I deal with children at times, without knowing, I become so loud, and suddenly I realize I'm being so loud, and I mean, I don't know how to control that. I'm not being harsh to them, but while talking to them, my voice raises so much. And I do realize now, after coming in contact with Preeti Mataji and learning how to talk, listening to her so beautifully, she speaks and conducts her classes. It's a lesson for me. And I mean, how can I improve on my patience here?
So
with
Isha is
children?
just telling me that, Mama, you yell. You're telling me. And you're telling me I talk nicely. So come home and listen from the children that I am raising. Okay,
No, when
Mataji.
we are teaching, Mataji, it is just that we have in our mind to finish our syllabus, and they keep asking questions and questions and questions, and behind our mind, we want to finish the syllabus. We want to teach them what I want to give them and not listen to what they have to tell me. So what I have, I want to just vomit that out to them. You must know this. So I don't know how to deal with that.
Yes. I what's the name? I'm because I can't. Anu. Patience requires humility and being gentle and kind. And one of the underlying blocks for us to develop humility, gentleness, gentility, being kind is we often have something we need to forgive. So we need to practice forgiveness. So when we have something that has disturbed our balance, disturbed who we are in life, and we have not forgiven whatever that thing may be, whatever it is, maybe it's a person, maybe it's a scenario, some situation, that does affect us, and it does actually impact how we act with others. So forgiveness helps us to become humble and gentle.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Sita Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. It's a true honor to be listening to you today. To answer your question, the thing that I would like to improve on is patience. But it seems like my patience level at my professional level, I'm actually known for it. But at the same time, when I come home, as Preeti Mataji shared, it seems like, maybe it is just my conditioning where I think it's like my family. They should know, it's my child, my son, my husband. So what I have found is listening to Preeti Mataji's classes, chanting for the few rounds that I'm doing. I'm just an initial student. That has helped me calm down a little bit and then do it. I did have one question. You said the initial one is like, you start your day by introspecting about what your previous day was, what's your plan for the day. How do you, this is from a student perspective, how do you try and not beat yourself? Because when I think about it, like, Preeti Mataji has given me the honor of being a co-host in one of her 18-day classes. I questioned myself, like, am I even eligible to do that? Why did she think? Like, I don't think so I'm eligible. I'm a brand new student. Or if somebody has faith in me, I try to do the best they can. So when you're questioning yourself, how do you know what your intent is? And I think I overthink it a lot, but
I keep questioning myself, and I don't know if that is a good thing to do.
Yeah, our internal language, internal dialogue, the things that we say to ourselves, they can either nourish us, to be able to express these qualities that we are talking about today, or they can keep us stuck. That's a fact. And so the internal knowledge, the internal understanding, our internal dialogue, if we can have more acceptance of who we are, understanding that we're not perfect, we're aspiring to once again remember that we're connected to the Lord. And so if the Lord is arranging anything for us to do on his behalf and Srimati Radharani's behalf, on her behalf, then that's glorious. And how can we be more appreciative and grateful? And so I would again recommend having a Mahabharat diary to write some of those things that perhaps are areas where you may be stuck in terms of appreciation and gratitude for who you are, acceptance of who you are. That those are important ways that we can start expressing the quality of patience.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Mataji, we have 4 more devotees waiting. I know you wanted to get done in 1.5 hours. So is it okay if I don't know when I'll get your August. Yes, Mataji, go ahead. Tell me, Vrajalila Mataji, please tell me.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so we can take those 4 devotees, and then after that, I have another class.
Yes, Mataji, yes. Okay, Vijay Chandru Mataji. Yes, Mataji. And then Kiran Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. It's a privilege to, get an opportunity to talk with you. I have seen in my family circles and in myself also, rather than this thing, we do some things out of love for people. At that time, we are very happy to do it, and it becomes a continuous process as we continue to do. But at some point of time, we start, getting bitter when it is not reciprocated, when we feel we are being exploited, or we feel we are, I don't know whether it is a sense of doership that comes into us or what it is. And I see this among many ladies, my mother-in-law, my mother, who says that maine bahut kiya, like I have done a lot for the family, but this is what I got in return. Such sort of, this thing I also experience, and I feel it is not a world where, such ancient ways of thinking works. It is one for oneself. Like finally, when we struggle, we end up alone. That time, nobody comes to, people come, like one of my brother-in-laws told, if there's a party, people will come and take selfies and go away. But when you're in a problem, there will not be a single person who will come and, support you or anything like that. That is the world we have to accept and understand. So what is your advice to me on this, ma'am?
Well, thank you. I think this is developing the quality of speech. And one of the principles to help us to develop speech is to trust, and to trust that mainly people are good. Mainly people want to be, they want to do the right thing. They want to be. However, people have different needs in the world. And because of those needs, they may have different perspectives. Yeah, we all have different worldviews. We all think differently. Especially, people in America might think differently from people in India, or even in families, because we're individuals. God created us like this. We have different perspectives about things. And so in order to develop this quality of fine speech, it's important to trust those family members, even when their behavior may not be what we would like them to be. Trust in the sense that all we can do is we can be a better example of fine speech, of speaking in ways to help those persons, to understand more about themselves. So we begin by trusting them. We trust that Krishna can help them to get understanding. We trust that. And it may take time. This is the thing with expressing these qualities and living these qualities. We're in a world where we want immediate results, immediately. However, it could be another lifetime. If we continue to have the example, be the example for others, that will eventually have an impact. And you can see in many of you with your family members, as you continue to practice Krishna consciousness, you see that some of them change. Maybe some of them become envious, because that's emotion inside, because somebody thinks something is getting taken away, right? Especially in Grihastha life, when the wife becomes more interested in Krishna consciousness, oftentimes the husband will become a little bit disturbed because the husband will think, I'm not getting the attention that she was giving before. I'm not getting the affection. I'm not getting the appreciation, because now the wife is giving it to Krishna, right? Or to their mentors. So that creates conflict, creates disturbance. Even in those situations, if we can still remember this beautiful quality of fine speech, that will help us, right? It will help us, and eventually will help them.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Nirupama Mataji, Hare Krishna, Dr. Nirupama Mataji. Sorry, Mataji, you can unmute yourself again.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Haribol.
Good morning, Mataji. I am from India, though here it is night. You told there it is morning. So my question is, really I learned fine speech regarding how to develop fine speech. Of course, I am a little bit lacking in the fine speech. And in that way, when the near and dear ones, sometimes heartedness is coming, suppose to us, then sometimes we also develop a little bit of heartedness on them also. So in that sense, how with that, though they hearted to us also, how we will love them, that quality, how to develop. Mataji.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you. So one of the quickest ways, as I said, is to breathe and call Suniti. Call in Suniti. Suniti, I need you to be here right now, because I'm going to be a Suruchi right now. I'm feeling it. I know it. I can tell. And I want to be a Suniti. I want to be that example. I want to be a Draupadi when Ashwatthama came, right? When Arjuna brought Ashwatthama and Draupadi said, no, don't kill him. That's who I am. That's who I really am. And all of these external situations that are going on, they're coming and going. They're temporary. They're coming and going. So I want to be the Suniti. This is why I like this pastime so much, because whenever I can tell I'm going to be a Suruchi, that's what I do. I breathe and I'm like, Suniti, where are you? Where are you? Yeah. And so how we can apply that, someone was said in this world, the world is Kali Yuga is just so crazy. In so many ways, it's impacted people in ways where we've lost our sense of communicating with each other lovingly and caringly. And so we, in these bodies as women, are to bring it back. And it might mean that we might we have to go to the austerities of seeing and hearing people speak in ways that we don't enjoy. That's the austerity. And how can we do that and know they're suffering? Just like Suniti told to Dhruva, she's paining. Anybody that gets pain is paining. And we know that as devotees. So we don't want to fall victim to the pain of other people. We can't change other people. We can only change ourselves. And I hear everyone here wants to change this mood of how we've been somehow indoctrinated in this world today. It's a crazy world. And a lot of it, it's because we haven't taken the time to pause and step back from it and introspect about it. Why is this like this? Do I want to be a part of this? And so most of you have taken shelter of Krishna. That's a huge step. Now the work begins. This is the work. And believe me, I can say these things. However, Mataji, I must let you know, I'm constantly working on it. Constantly. Because, the more you work on it, the more Krishna sends people to push the triggers. Believe me.
Yes. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Mataji, I had one question when you were presenting. May I please put it in front of you? And it'll be like 10 seconds.
Yes, please.
Mataji, when you were, thank you for permitting. When you were taking the initial part, you said when we are connected to the body, we can feel our emotions, and we can also feel from which part of the body the emotions are coming. And it tells us what is behind this emotion. Can you please clarify? Because let's say that my head is hurting and I'm shouting and angry. So what do I mean?
Well, I haven't studied the science as much as I would like to. However, the chakras, there are chakras in our bodies. There are places in our bodies. And so different solar plexus in our bodies that get affected by our emotions. And so, for example, if I feel an emotion in my stomach, right, that emotion in my stomach is possibly related to some experience that has caused me some distress, some experience, some trigger caused me some kind of a distress. And so that distress is related, that distress, if it's, let's say, anger, and I feel anger in my stomach. Usually we feel anger like in our chest area. That's usually where anger lives. But these emotions lives in different places based on whatever the trigger might be. Whatever, let's say somebody, I don't know, maybe share something that is painful in terms of something related to some part of my physical body, some part of my physical body. It's on a subtle platform. It affects some part of my physical body. That's where I'm going to feel it, right? In the body, according to what I've learned about the way the body works. For example, when people say to me, I'm kind of overweight. And so my mom is the famous person to help me with that. She's like my best purifier. Whenever I see her, she doesn't do it anymore, but she used to. And I had to sit with her and talk with her about it. And she would say, I don't understand. Why are you in this Hare Krishna movement? You're just getting fat. She would say like that. This was like earlier when I was practicing Krishna consciousness, when I first started practicing Krishna consciousness, like when I was living in Africa and I would come back because the food in Africa, it's mostly carbs. And so I gained weight and I came back and she'd be like, and that I found was affecting me in my stomach because it was related to food. So it depends on what the trigger may be that will affect a different part of the body.
Okay.
You're the doctor. So does that make any sense to you?
Perfect sense. Thank you. I got the answer I was looking for. Thank you. Mataji, thank you so much for coming. I can't wait for another session and dig your calendar again. But thank you. I think thank you is a small word. I'm very indebted, and I'm very grateful for you having you in my life. And by the way, you were saying where are you gonna go? What's gonna happen in the winter? Please come here. It's always a place for you and Ekavira Prabhu. Anyone would like to say thanks to her, and then we can maybe.
Yes, I would like to say Hare Krishna Sindhu here again. You are a true change agent, and I would like to be part of more sessions like this.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank Thank
Thank
you,
you so
Mataji.
much,
Thank you so much,
Mataji.
Mataji. It's very nice to be a
Mataji.
part of this session.
Pleasure
Hare
having you,
Krishna.
Mataji. We'll be
Prema
happy to
Kishori
be a part
Mataji,
of
I just wanted to say one thing that today, thank you so much for inviting us for this session. It has given lots of knowledge. I think many queries of in our mind has been cleared, and we'll definitely practice all that, whatever is said. But such sessions should be more and more, Mataji. So please come in as soon as possible through Prema Kishori Mataji, and bless us all. Thank you so much.
Let
Thank you.
Lord Krishna have an attachment with all of us, Mataji. Hare
Yes.
Krishna.
Yes.
Hare Krishna Danvat Pranam.
Mataji, if it is possible, could you also please share a link? I missed the first 15 minutes of the session, and I think I made up later on. So if possible,
Yes,
please
yeah,
do
we'll
share a
share
link.
the recordings. Yes.
Thank you so much, Mataji. It's an
Thank you
honor
so
to be a
much.
part of this session. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Vrajalila Mataji. Thank you.
Prem Kishori, I just want to share. I love you so much. I love you so much.
I think I love you more. 2, 3, 4 much.
And we all love you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We all love you, Mataji. I'm just wanting to share how much I'm inspired by Prem Kishori being a change agent. I know this is difficult for her to do. I know it. However, she's committed, and she's committed to all of you. So please, please, please support her and help her so that she can assist to empower all of you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mataji. And I also, it's in the back of my mind, but maybe I'll just put it out. I'll just brainstorm with everyone around. So Vrajalila Mataji runs these wonderful sessions for across the world. If you look at her diary, yesterday was America, last week was South Africa, week before was, what was it, Russia? Somewhere, everywhere, whatever language. People sit as a translator, translating what she's saying in different languages. But she just lives on donations, which I know because I've lived with them 4 months of my life. I know, and they also come to my house. I know in and out of a devotee's life. So maybe if we have to have more sessions, so maybe we can pull in some donations, Mataji. This is from I know you have not asked me even 1 penny, or I'm happy to arrange on my own. So we'll figure out, and it has to be something that can nurture her.
Yeah.
As a gratitude, not even nurture. Guru Dakshina it is called as.
So Prem Kishori, I would love to offer some communication courses. However, I prefer small groups.
Yes.
So I really would love to just do a small group of like maybe 25 sincere, serious students. Maybe, okay, let's have some even numbers, but let's say 22, 26, 25, but nothing more than 30 at a session. And so we can arrange different sessions if you like. However, I prefer small groups because I really know that in order for what we're doing to work, everyone has to get empowered. And that's done a little easier with small groups.
Okay, I will connect with you. Yes.
Everybody needs to do what me and Prem Kishori does. Everyone.
Yes, that's the main goal. Yeah, don't come here as a listener or as a class for entertainment. This is a life-changing experience, and this should be your future. Goal. Okay. Thank you, Mataji. I love you so much. I wish I could pay my Dharma and hug you. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. Everyone taking time out. Haribol. And Mataji, I'll connect with you regarding the
I'm going to Chile. Now I'm going to Chile, South America.
Chile, South America.